Pumpkin Spice, what's up?
Hi.
Hello, how are you doing?
Hi. I guess my question to you is why is it that you're a Christian?
Because the Christian God is true. There's evidence for Christianity.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. My answer is that the Christian God is true.
Okay.
There's evidence for Christianity, and I have had personal experiences myself with God that have led me to these conclusions.
Okay, you said a Christian God is true and there's evidence. Where?
Evidence for Christianity comes mainly from prophecy and the resurrection. I'll give you prophecy though. For example, you know Jesus Christ, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you know that Christians, we say that he died for our sins, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So 700 years,
Yeah.
yeah. So 700 years before Jesus came to earth, there was a prophet of God who told us that God will have a servant who he sends to be pierced for our transgressions and to take on the punishment for us, which we see in Isaiah chapter 53. Do you have a Bible at all?
I can pull it up on my end.
All right, well, go to Isaiah chapter 53. This is a prophecy which came 700 years before Jesus and perfectly anticipated what Jesus would do. So, yeah.
Okay.
All right. One sec.
Isaiah chapter 53.
Yeah.
I have it up.
All right, so I'll read the relevant verses. I'll start from verse 1. Who has believed what we have heard? And to whom has the arm of the Lord been revealed? He grew up before him like a young plant, like a root out of dry ground. He did not have an impressive form or majesty that we should look at him, no appearance that we should desire him. He was despised and rejected by men, a man of suffering who knew what sickness was. He was like someone people
Mm-hmm.
turned away from. He was despised and we did not value him. Yet he himself bore our sicknesses and he carried our pains. But we in turn regarded him stricken, struck down by God and afflicted. But he was pierced because of our rebellion, crushed because of our iniquities. Punishment for our peace was on him, and we are healed by his wounds. We all went astray like sheep. We all have turned to our own way, and the Lord has punished him for the iniquity of us all. So I'm just going to ask you, Pumpkin Spice. Who does that sound like to you?
Well, according to the Bible, it sounds like Jesus.
Beautiful. And the thing is, you said according to the Bible, which you're right. But the Bible is just a title meaning book of books. The Bible is just a book of books. Like each book in the Bible is written like standalone. So this, what I just read to you, is a book written in the 8th century BC, in the 700s BC, which was 700 years before Jesus was even born. Jesus was born in about 4 BC. So if the Bible got something so accurate about Jesus who would be coming 700 years later, that is attestation to the Bible to Christianity being true, because God correctly prophesied exactly the coming of Jesus and what he would do. Does that make sense?
Okay, it makes sense, yeah, but I think I have mixed feelings in general about Christians and how they view the world because I was a Christian myself and I was deep in the religion. I used to go every Sunday. I used to dance as well, even preach. But I had questions and I felt like nobody could have answered it. And it was all, oh, basically listen with your heart and just don't think. That's how it felt most of the time.
I understand in that.
And
I understand in that.
to
That
me,
is
my question is this, right? The story of Job is actually an eye opener for me because again, it was the devil. Sorry, it was God that actually proposed that the devil torment Job. Right? And it's like, why would he do that? Can you like answer that for me? Why would he do that?
yeah. So the reason God allowed the devil to torment Job, if you go to Job chapter 1, since you have the Bible, if you go to Job chapter 1, we'll let the Bible explain it for itself. Go to Job chapter 1 for me. All right.
Okay.
All right. So this is verse 7. The Lord asked Satan, "Where have you come from?" What's up, Aiden? God bless you, my G. "Where have you come from?" "From roaming through the earth," Satan answered him, "and walking around on it." Then the Lord said to Satan, "Have you considered my servant Job? No one else on earth is like him, a man of perfect integrity, who fears God and turns away from evil." Satan answered the Lord, "Does Job fear God for nothing? Haven't you placed a hedge around him, his household, and everything he owns? You have blessed the work of his hands, and his possessions have increased in the land. But stretch out your hand and strike everything he owns, and he will surely curse you to your face." "Very well," the Lord told Satan. "Everything he owns is in your power. However, do not lay a hand on Job himself." So Satan left the Lord's presence. So firstly, Pumpkin Spice, the text told us that it's Satan actually who told God to torment Job. Satan is the one who said in verse 11, "Stretch out your hand and strike him and everything he owns, and he will surely curse you to his face." Now the reason that God allowed this,
All right. I understand that.
I'm gonna answer what you said in full though.
So continue.
Yeah, thank you. The reason God allowed this is that by Satan giving this critique, he is dishonoring God and he's dishonoring Job. So by God doing this, he's going to protect Job's honor. He's going to protect his honor. And by God doing this, God also allows humans, us, to learn about his nature and allows us to see who God is. It's a story. The story of Job allows us to understand about suffering, allows us to understand about the real world and things like this. So by God doing this, he's protecting Job's honor, he's defending Job's honor, and he's defending his honor. So he glorifies himself and he gives Job glory as well because he shows Satan to be wrong. Now it is a sad event that happened to Job, but by God doing this, he allows Satan to be refuted. He defends Job and he defends his own honor from Satan, who was trying to undermine God's honor and undermine Job's integrity. Does that make some sense?
Like I'm honestly trying to get it, but there's just like a blockage because think about it from my understanding that he came up to heaven and in verse where is it? Verse 8. "Have you considered my servant Job? God knows who Satan is." Why would he even bring it up? He knows that Satan would want to dishonor him, correct?
You're right.
He can see the future. He knows everything that is going to happen. Okay.
I agree.
You mentioned that it's about protecting honor, right? But at the end, what ended up happening was that Job lost his family. I mean, if two people are going to bet on my mom's life, it doesn't matter who wins the bet. I will always look at him weird.
I understand that. But the thing is, firstly, since we're dealing with God, since you're granting God in this case, we have to allow that God would have the best understanding of things that we wouldn't understand. That's hard to answer. That's hard to grasp, I should say. But we have to grant that God has the best understanding. Now, secondly, God allowing Satan to touch Job's household and his family is a part of the regular world. What's up, Bear? I invited you up, brother, because
Assalamu alaikum.
salam, man. I invited you up because I know this is stuff that you know very well. But as I was saying to you, Pumpkin Spice, by God allowing this to happen, these events to happen to Job, I already told you he's defending his honor, he's defending Job's honor. But he's also allowing us to see what the world is like. That bad things can happen to good people. And that God is sovereign despite of all that. And yet he's also showing that Job and those who follow God with integrity will still follow him regardless of if everything they have is taken away. That's why Job can still keep his faith, as Brother Mike says on YouTube. He can still keep his faith even when these things were taken away from him, because his integrity was not dependent on the hedge that God put around him. That's what Satan was trying to accuse God of and undermine God's credibility and Job's credibility. So by Job keeping his faith even when everything was taken away, that showed that Satan was wrong, and that glorified God and also exalted Job and honored Job, because it showed that God was right about Job, that he was a man of integrity and blamelessness. Bear, if you want to add anything to that, she's asking, why would God allow Satan to test Job? Why would God do that wager with Satan on Job's life?
Well, since God is an all-knowing being, it's a story. It's actually what some people will say, it's probably the oldest writing in the Bible, even older than Genesis, and it's a story we're still talking about today. So maybe God did that in order for us to be blessed by that story.
Exactly right. Pumpkin Spice.
You said God did it for us to be blessed by the story?
Yeah, why wouldn't that be something? It's a story that's been preserved, that's for thousands of years.
All right.
That encourages a lot of people.
Okay. I think that's a funny way to put blessing, because it doesn't matter how much you turn and twist it. At the end of the day, his family had died.
Yeah, and guess what? We say Jesus being put naked on a cross, tortured with his intestines falling out, and then crucifying and dying is a blessing too. Job we see as a type of Christ.
Again, I'm okay. All right. So God allows us to see what the world is like by using Job's story as some sort of testimony. But at the end of it all, he gave back Job twice as much as he had.
Mm-hmm.
Does is that okay? Is it okay to just murder somebody, your family, and give them back twice the amount?
Well,
it doesn't say that that's the reason.
These questions are just genuine.
It just says that God decided to bless him and give him twice. It doesn't say it's because he went through all of that.
Okay, God bless him. All right. Okay. All right. Besides that, the story of Abraham, when he took his son Isaiah.
Before you go ahead, what's up, peace? Before you go ahead, do you understand what we were saying about Job? That God allowing this defends his honor, defends Job's honor, and also can allow us humans today to understand the state of the world, understand things about God that we wouldn't otherwise know without the story of Job. Do you at least understand it a bit more?
I'm trying my best to understand it, honestly.
Are you Christian?
But I just
what
feel
faith
like
are you? What faith are you? So I understand why you're not understanding.
Okay, I was a Christian. Mm-hmm. I was a Christian. And the story of Job is still a story that is just wild to me. And it makes me want to leave Christianity because of it.
Yeah, but I mean, just because the story is wild doesn't make it not true or not from God, right? Like you're basing your decision on, like, okay, everybody's entitled to their own opinion, their own emotions, right? So you're entitled to that. No one can tell you can't feel a certain way, but you can't make truth decisions based on your emotions. Because just because it's a wild story doesn't mean it's not true, or it doesn't mean that it couldn't come from God.
It's not the fact that it. Okay, so yes, you're right. I shouldn't use my emotions and just like say I'm gonna opt out of Christianity based on it, right? But I try thinking about it logically. It still does not make sense for you to wager with someone and basically just uproot the entire life. He was pleading, he was begging, and that wager was still on.
Yeah,
I
because ultimately the story is a type. He's a type of Christ. It literally gives a reflection of the Messiah. Because Job, although he was human and didn't understand what was going, and he was begging for this to be asked, when Jesus was in Gethsemane and he asked for the cup to pass, he still submitted his will to God perfectly. So we're
okay,
seeing
but
we're seeing a human that goes through suffering, can't handle it, but then makes it. But then we see a divine person who takes on human nature, and then he's able to save us from our sins. It's all a
okay,
reflection of
but
Christ.
so did Job know that he was going to go through that suffering before compared to
Nope.
Jesus? Because I think Jesus knew when he
Does
before
he
he
have to
came down,
know?
he knew. Okay, I think consent is a big thing, but that
Wait, for
word you
wait,
said
hold on.
suffering.
Consent. If there's God, God needs your consent.
Wow, I just think suffering. If you're gonna impose suffering on somebody else, give them a head up. But why must we
Yeah,
suffer?
but
Job?
I get that's what you think, but what, like, why are you putting this on God? Like, according to what standard God needs consent from humans in order for them to go through suffering? Hey, brother Glenn, you're making like a ton of noise switching your headphones and stuff. Just saying. But does that make sense, Pumpkin? Like, according to, like, why does God need consent from humans at all? Like, what standard are you bringing here? I mean, I know that's how you
Then
feel about it, but
yeah, that's how I feel about it. Yeah,
yeah,
but
but I mean, that's fine.
if
I
you're gonna
mean, yeah,
put me in
that's
a
how you feel about
scenario,
it, but God doesn't. You would need to
okay, he
present.
doesn't care. Yes, he
No, it's not
doesn't
that
care.
it's not that he doesn't care. He obviously preserved them and blessed them later, right? But and on top of that, this story has blessed millions of people throughout for thousands of years, and it reflects Christ.
Yeah.
Like,
And
it's not like a God. It's not like a God that's willing. He's giving the suffering to Job, but this is also the same God that's willing to go through the suffering.
yeah. Amen. And Pumpkin, as I told you earlier, God, by the way, God bless peace, guys. Follow Bear and follow peace. I invited him up because he was talking about Job, and I know he's great with these. Pumpkin also, as I told you earlier, by God doing this, he glorifies himself. Like it's clear thing in the Bible that glory is due to God. So by God doing this, he glorifies himself. But he also glorifies Job. He can exalt Job in this because he defends Job's honor. So he's doing this on Job's behalf as well. He's showing that what he said about Job is true because Job kept his faith even when the hedge was taken away. Bear already told you that it also shows the character of God, that we might not that it tells us things that we don't really understand about God. It expounds on God's character, and also it shows Job as a type of Christ, that God taking on flesh will go through suffering for us, even suffering that he doesn't want to bear. Like he says, take this cup from me, nevertheless not my will but yours be done. So the story of Job, where God allows Satan to torment him and allow him to go through these trials, was a story, as Bear said, to bless the church today, but was also a story to show that God will defend his people. He will defend his people from accusations. He will defend his people from trials.
Okay.
He'll defend them on their behalf. So it's a story that is hard to understand at times, but it vindicates God. It vindicates God and shows that even when bad things happen to good people, it's not always because they did something bad, but because we live in a world where God is sovereign and he can allow that. So it's something that expounds on the world we live in, expounds on things that we might not fully understand. Do you get that a little bit more?
Yeah, but you said God glorified himself. God preserved his honor and Job honor. I thought God was glory. Why should he glorify himself in the beginning in the first place?
Yeah, you got to understand what glory means to begin with. Glory is just
Okay, then what's
evidence.
glory?
Glory is just evidence of God's presence. So when he's saying he's glorifying himself, right? Like, for example, like I just looked it up real quick. So Job 9:32 and 33 is a clear, it's already mapping out that humanity needs a mediator, needs someone that can step in order to justify their sinfulness. And Job is recognizing this. We know this, that the mediator is like we believe is Christ, who ultimately steps in. So the story of Job shows a man who is blameless, like Job, who did nothing wrong, there's still a significant problem with his humanity, that he cannot redeem himself. He needs a redeemer. So Job is being used as an example to express and show the void that we are in need of a Messiah because of our corrupted humanity. So his story is actually laying out the groundwork for the need of Jesus Christ, who ultimately is our creator, who decides to suffer even worse than Job. Job didn't go through physical pain or suffering. He went through emotional, his family died, etc. But Christ was willing to go on a torture rack and literally die when he doesn't even need to.
Does that help you, Pumpkin Spice?